Hello and welcome to Curator with a Camera question and answer. You wrote in and gave us your comments on various of our videos over the past few months, and Thomas Spain and I are here to have a go at answering them for you.
I'll try my best, by the way, I'll try my best.
Oh, you're fantastic, you've got a PhD.
Allegedly.
So we're going to start with a few general questions that have popped up through the Curator with a Camera episodes, and then we'll drill into some of the more specific questions on individual films that have been asked. So first one is from SR King 783. Do you have any plans to restore Mallard to working order for its 100th anniversary? Also, are there any locomotives you feel there would be excellent additions to the National Collection? Well, the second question, is there anything we'd add to the National Collection? We could be here until midnight, and as Lee, our cameraman, wants to go home, we won't answer that one. But do we have any plans to restore Mallard to its working order for its 100th anniversary? Well, we don't have any concrete plans, but all I can say is if it's going to happen, that would be when it would be done. But who knows what the state of the mainline railways is going to be like then. So let's watch this space. What do you think?
Yes, I think so. I think you should never say never in this sort of thing.
No,
I think
no, that is my maxim,
yes,
never say never.
Yes.
But thank you, Mr. King. Our next question is Matthew 4th, 8561. What locomotives or rolling stock that didn't have the chance to be preserved would have been really good to have in the collection? Well, again, that's one where there's so many things that you could add to a list. But do you have anything particularly, Thomas, you wish we had?
Oh, yes, yes. Well, personally, being the controversialist that I am, I would really like to have a leader class in the collection.
Is that because of your bullied?
Yeah, it is because of my bullied fanaticism.
Fair enough. I think I'd have liked to see something from the early to mid-19th century. There's a lot of stuff written about in books about engines and carriages and wagons, but in reality, these things, they were working tools at the time. They didn't have people going all sentimental or excited about them. So if something happened to survive for preservation, it was very much an accident. Unless it was something like rocket or locomotion, where it was realised that they were important and interesting and set aside. But otherwise, they were pieces of kit that were just cast aside and broken up and recycled. Yeah. So interesting, but yeah, loads of things could have been preserved. Personally, I'd have quite liked to have seen one of the LMS diesels, 10,000 or 10,001, but so many things we could be here forever. We could do another Curator with a Camera Q&A extra. Yeah. Who knows?
I mean, I'd like to see something from the 1850s that's actually a normal locomotive rather than something like
Jenny Lind.
Yes, maybe, something everyday rather than the glamorous things that we do sometimes.
Okay.
Focus on.
So RK315, is the museum going to add a railway traction engine to the collection? Well, if Thomas is excitable about bullied Pacifics and things like that, some of you will know that I have a bit of a soft spot for steam engines that drive on the road, and traction engines in particular. And there aren't many railway traction engines left, or traction engine locomotives in the UK, in the world particularly. So, and they're all in private hands or in other museums. So whilst it might be quite nice, no, we're not going to add one to the collection, I'm afraid, but you can see them at places like Buckinghamshire Railway Centre and Nene Valley Railway, where the Blue Circle is in particular, which worked at the Holborough Cement Works in Kent, where my granddad was its engine driver. Okay, so moving on to more particular films that we've made, that Thomas and myself and Bob have made, and I should explain, Bob's not here to answer for himself, so we have to.
We'll try and out Bob.
We'll do what we can.
Yeah.
So, referring to the Flying Scotsman film, Tim Cantrell says, "I disagree with the title. Big Boy is the world's most famous engine." No. No. Next. Thomas April Fools. Well, a lot of you really enjoyed that, almost as much as Lee and Ben and myself did in making it, and saying that it's the best Curator with a Camera ever made, and that
it's factually correct.
Well, yeah, I did actually do all my research on that. My research was done 40 odd years ago, I have to say. But you know, I think we had a lot of fun with that. And Scottish Atlantic 57 says, this is the best curator with a camera ever made. You guys should do Ivor the Engine next. We've got to find Ivor.
He's probably somewhere in North Wales.
Yes, the top left-hand corner of Wales, if I remember.
Yes.
National Railway Museum has won April Fools, according to Matthew Plant, 2603.
Very kind of you.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And Day C7670 says, there must be outtakes for this. Please, please, please post them. Well, I can tell you, Day C, that there weren't any outtakes at all. The production team of Lee and Sean will vouch for me. We had 8 colleagues standing behind them, a bit like in the Full Monty with the gnomes, trying to make me laugh. And we just about managed to scrape through with no outtakes whatsoever. We did it in one hit, and it was just the most fun that I think we've had doing any of the filmings of Curator with a Camera. And I didn't even get to say train once, like train.
So I think it's safe to say they're all intakes and not outtakes.
Thank you, Thomas. We'll move to the next question.
Okay.
We move on to the APTE. And SR Furley says, you don't show the turbines or say much about them. Are any of them still installed? Well, yes, we were aware that going into APT was quite an in-depth Curator with a Camera film. And actually it's quite a confined space within the 2 power cars. But there are indeed 5 Leyland gas turbines installed in each end of the train. And they do still spin. We haven't struck one up yet. The APT support group are quite disgusted with me by the fact that we haven't done that yet, but we do know that they turn. I think we'd have to issue ear protectors if we did get one struck up, but they are still very much in there. And we're looking at ways in which we can open up the interior of APTE so that visitors are able to see more of the gadgets and gizmos internally in the future as we settle our displays down. And then we have Jeremy Hyman, 5056. Could you open and close those access steps from within the train? So if you remember on the film, I opened the steps from outside the cab to get down, to get into the cab from ground level. You can actually drop them down from inside as well. There is a handle that allows you to do that. But moving on from APT, Churchill Thomas, we have questions for
excellent.
yourself.
So Howard Alexander, 1988. Hello, Howard. Fantastic looking locomotive. I love the design and engineering that went into steam locomotives without the help of computers. It always amazes me how complex a steam locomotive is and the differences between classes. As those wheels were stronger and lighter than other designs, why were they not more widely adopted? Well, I like to...
That's the box
yeah,
spot,
the bullied Firth Brown, and
yeah.
I think that's the hint, really, is that they're bullied Firth Brown wheels, and there would have been a patent taken out of them, and railway companies would prefer the cheaper option of just going back to the spoke variety. So that's probably why BR didn't, British Railways didn't really adopt them beyond the bullied Pacifics. So J. Freeland, 1964, has mentioned...
It's very kind
there's
of you.
been-
This is excellent presentation,
it's
Thomas.
it's
Yeah.
rather nice of people
Yeah.
to say it's excellent.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah. You mentioned the Merchant Navy class. Do any exist? If so, do you have one? Yes, 11 of them exist, and one of them is sectioned, is a sectioned exhibit at York, showing you the insides of a modern steam locomotive.
And that's Ellerman Lines, isn't
And that
it?
is Ellerman Lines.
And the final one is Elite Erin says, how come it has the nuclear warning symbol in the cab? Well, that's not actually a nuclear warning symbol. As curators and conservators, we have to be aware that there's quite a lot of hazards within our collection, whether it's asbestos or mercury or radioactive materials. And there's the possibility that the automatic warning system, the AWS Sunflower, has radioactive paint, reflective paint. So it has a radiation warning symbol, which just sort of says don't go in too close.
Yeah. Or lick it.
Okay, on to Rocket then. Rocket was a good fun one to do, because I like early engines, as some of you will know. But Solar Flare 623 asks, have you guys ever thought about making new replacement parts? Well, actually, no, we haven't, because Rocket was made to have, or a lot of replacement parts were fitted to it when it went into the Patent Office Museum in the 1860s. And throughout the 1890s, curators added things and tweaked stuff and put things like, because that's how they thought it should look. But in the 1920s, the director, the curator of the Science Museum at EA Forward and his team said, well, actually, we don't need all of this extra stuff that's put on. It gives an erroneous view of how the engine actually was, with a fake firebox and the fake connecting rods, the wooden connecting rods, and the chimney and the exhaust pipes and everything. So the decision was made by the collections team best part of 100 years ago to remove all of the erroneous parts, the extra parts, the replacement parts. So what you see on Rocket are the pieces of original locomotive rather than anything that's been added to it to make it suitable for display. So I have to confess, it was thought about well over 100 years ago, and then much more recently in the 1920s, it was decided to remove those parts. So I don't think we would look to do anything of that ilk either again. So there we are. Understeer 1018 says, 2 months ago, says, still waiting for that pacer vid.
Oh.
Well, Understeer 1018, have we got news for you?
Have we?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, our head curator, Andrew McLean, has indeed filmed the pacer vid today. So expect it to come rocketing through your screen very soon indeed. So we're pleased to say that one's on its way.
For those of you who love that kind of thing.
Yes, folks, he's here all week. Please
Yes.
send money.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the Green Arrow film. Did the fireman get a regulator too? Well, the regulator handle does extend across the cab. Sorry, that was from Do Not Want to Handle 111.
That's quite a good use
Yeah,
handle.
I bet you didn't think of that when
No,
you were
I-
asking the
no.
question, did you, Mr. Do Not, or Mrs., or whoever Do Not Want to Handle? Did the fireman get a regulator too? Well, the regulator handle extends across the cab, and that's both for shunting, but also if anything happened and the fireman needed to shut off if the driver was incapacitated or there was a problem, it's really helpful rather than just to have to cross the cab. You can just
It's
slam.
also fairly useful for shunting as well.
That's it, that's right,
Yes,
yeah. Mr. J Nuts 1 asks, could City of Truro be looked at in the future? Very pretty engine. Well, as somebody born and brought up on Great Western Territory, I have to agree with you there. It is a very pretty engine. Thomas
Bar
may,
humbug.
yeah, Thomas
Yes.
will disagree with me
Yes.
quite robustly there.
Yes.
Could we look at it in the future? Yes, I dare say we could.
Never say never.
I'll go and
again,
ask the
though.
cameraman. Lee, do you think we could have a couple of days in Swindon at some point?
Sounds all right to me.
Good, right, there you go.
Fair enough.
Anyway, going back to being serious for another question.
Couldn't imagine you being that.
Do you want to do one of these again?
Yeah.
Excellent. Asks, why did the monoblock crack? Poor steel, bad design, old age. Well, it was a flaw within the castings, and it was something that happened throughout their lives in service for the V2s. The monoblocks, the single casting, did crack in numerous applications, which is why BR went through the rebuilding and changing the monoblock cylinder to being 3 individual cylinders. So you had a left engine, a right engine and a middle engine, all separate, and they could be...
So you could argue Green Arrow is lucky enough or unlucky enough to still have the original monoblock.
Yeah, but we can't repair it. We have looked into metal stitching, and that's a question that was asked, and I'm going to answer it myself because it's not there on the ones that have been written in. But people have said, why do you not repair the cylinders that are already there? Well, we've looked at it extensively, and whilst metal stitching could sort out some of the repairs, what we didn't say in the previous film on Green Arrow is that the cylinder casting is actually slightly at an angle from day one, so that whilst you could look at sleeving the piston valves, there is only, well, there's 7/8 of an inch material on one side, but because of the angle that it's at, there's only 1/8 of an inch of material on the other side, so it wouldn't take machining again, which is, you know, a bit of a problem for us really. It'd be nice to be able to repair it and keep it original, but if we were going to run the engine again, we would insist on a like-for-like casting for casting. People have said, what about the fabrication one for the P2 that's been made in Darlington?
It'd probably be too
Well.
perfect.
Yeah, but as a museum, you know, we would really go like for like. And a final one, Thomas Durant 7907 says, and I think this was originally of your
Of
Winston
my
Churchill
Winston
film,
Churchill thing.
saying, the ending feels like that's enough information. Shall we go have a pint now? I think
That's
Thomas,
a
that's a
capital
very good idea, isn't
I
it?
think so. Let's
Smashing.
go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Right, Joel, let's do that.
Awfully good, this sort of thing. So.